Welcome everybody to IT Day with Click. I'm really excited to be here and thanks for joining me. As Jenny mentioned, I'm Mikey Pruitt, a cybersecurity professional and threat hunter wannabe. That's kind of how I pitch myself. But now I work in marketing. I'm a bit of a nerd and subject matter expert in cybersecurity that somehow became a public evangelist for DNSFilter. I want this to be really interactive. So just as Jenny mentioned, start firing off those questions. We'll have plenty of time to get to answer them. I've actually worked in a few charities myself. And just for fun, I've screenshotted the first website I ever built, which is on this slide. And that was at my first job at one of those charities. I know it's a terrible website. It was 2005. So give me a bit of a break there. But that job and their belief in me was really the catalyst that sent me down this technology rabbit hole. And I'm forever grateful and wanted to say charities, especially small ones, are not just inspiring donors, assisting benefactors, but they're shaping the futures of their staff. And I am the perfect example. I just wanted to call that out. Now, I know cybersecurity might not sound as exciting as your mission to make the world a better place, but trust me, it's just as important. A cyber incident can jeopardize everything you've built. A breach not only damages your reputation, but puts your mission at risk. So think of cybersecurity as an essential piece of your toolkit. It's not about fear, it's about resilience. Today, we're going to explore how to keep your charity secure, and here's the roadmap. First, we'll define some terminology for the ever-evolving cyber threat landscape. Then we'll dig into real-world examples of what happens when cyber attacks strike and how they can impact your mission. Next, we'll explore the unique challenges charities face in this digital age. Think budget constraints and data security. But fear not, I'm going to outline what a strong cybersecurity foundation looks like. Plus, we'll talk about collaboration and resources because you don't have to go it alone in this fight. And finally, we'll wrap it all up, summarize some key points and takeaways, and answer your questions. So before we get started, let me tell you what DNSFilter does exactly. So DNS stands for Domain Name System, and you can go to the next slide, Jenny. And DNS is the core technology of the internet. So every connected device uses DNS to retrieve online resources. The video file I'm sending right now is being displayed on your screen over the internet via DNS. Your social media posts, applications, and even lower levels of your computer are using DNS constantly. Your devices are asking another computer somewhere on the internet to translate domain names into numbered addresses to resolve the resource you're trying to access. So with DNSFilter deployed, you ask us where that resource is located, and we would either respond with it's a location, it's real location, allowing you to access the resource, or block your connection based on rules set up by your network administrator. We can block malicious threats that would cause harm to your device, fake websites posing as something legitimate, or inappropriate content. We have an army of computers categorizing domains 24/7 just for this purpose. So that's it. I hope that was easy to understand. Click IT is one of our valued partners and makes DNSFilter available to their clients. So ask some questions in the Q&A feature if you want to know more about that. So we can go to the next slide. So now let's take a quick tour of some cybersecurity definitions. So here's a snapshot of current threats and trends. And first up is ransomware. It's the big one. Think of it as digital kidnapping. Cyber criminals lock up your data and they won't give you the key until you pay a hefty ransom. Charities are not immune. They're actually seen as soft targets. The bad guys are after your data or at least locking it up, them having the only key. Next, phishing attacks. It's all about deceiving you. Cyber crooks send fake communications that look legit, trying to trick you into revealing sensitive info or clicking on malicious links. These messages can be difficult to spot, so I'll go over a few tips later. Data breaches are a constant threat too, and often the end goal of the other threats. Cyber attackers love to get their hands on your charity's data, donor info, financial records, you name it. And why? Because they can sell it on the dark web and use personal details for more targeted attacks down the road. And don't forget about 0 days. It's a real scary word. These are the backdoor entrances to your software that nobody knows about until it's too late. Cyber criminals find and exploit these vulnerabilities before we can fix them. So now let's talk trends. Remote work is a big one, and I know there was a talk earlier today about hybrid work. So I think that's on the top of mind for all of us here. And thanks to the pandemic, more of us are working remotely. That means offsite internet usage is now the norm, and our devices become the targets. Cyber attackers are looking for weak links to exploit. Uneducated staff with insecure devices are prime target while working offsite. Artificial intelligence is being used for both good and bad. But what exactly is artificial intelligence? And if you attended the Microsoft talk just before this one, you got kind of a showcase of what is currently possible. And Microsoft is defined as like a sentient machine, indistinguishable from human, but they are what I'm talking about, that current crop of tools. So I'll explain those. If I had to boil it down to its essence, AI is all about prediction. And when we talk about prediction, we're really talking about understanding patterns, making educated guesses, and predicting outcomes based on that data. You see, every day we're generating vast amounts of data from our smartphones, social media posts, physical sensors, and a lot more. AI algorithms sift through mountains of information, identifying patterns that we humans might overlook and predict that what might come next. And hackers are supercharging their campaigns with AI. All that stuff you could do with Microsoft Copilot, the bad guys can do that same stuff. Lastly, supply chain attacks are on the rise. Cyber criminals target organizations through their partners or software systems, exploiting already trusted relationships. Attackers infiltrate a point in the chain of custody for your tools that you have little control over, resulting in the potential leak of sensitive information. So why should you care about all this? Because knowing the language of your enemy is the first step to defending your mission. We're going to explore how to protect your charity from these threats and trends. And on the next slide, we're going to dive deeper into the harsh reality of what happens when charity falls victim to cyber breaches. So let's talk about why cyber attacks can be more than just technical headaches. They can directly impact your mission, the very reason your organization exists. The consequences can be truly devastating, not just from a technical standpoint, but from a stakeholder perspective. So picture this, your staff has been working relentlessly to provide clean water to communities in need, maybe supporting education for underprivileged children, or fighting for social justice. You're making a real impact, changing lives, and you're leaving a positive mark on the world. But then a cyber attack occurs and your mission comes to a grinding halt. First and foremost, think about the people you serve, your beneficiaries. A cyber incident can reveal sensitive data about the vulnerable people and communities who rely on your charity. It's not just about data, it's about the lives you touch. Cyber attacks can hit you where it hurts the most. Your bank account. Funds that should be going toward your mission can suddenly be diverted to recover from an attack, pay ransoms, repair systems, or just outright stolen. Every pound lost to an attack is a pound that could have gone toward the cause you're passionate about. Your charity's reputation is invaluable. News of a data breach or a cyber incident can spread rapidly through social media and news outlets, potentially damaging the hard-earned reputation you've built over the years. The time, energy, and resources required to recover from a cyber incident will divert your charity from its core mission. You may lose access to critical data, making it impossible to carry out programs effectively. Depending on the nature of the data compromised, you could face legal consequences and regulatory fines. Navigating these legal challenges absorb time and resources away from your mission. Trust is the cornerstone of charitable giving. When a breach occurs and donor or supporter data is compromised, trust will erode quickly. When supporters, clients, or beneficiaries lose trust in your ability to safeguard their data and privacy, it can be incredibly difficult to rebuild that trust. Donors may question whether your contributions are going to be used effectively, leading to potential drops in financial support. In essence, a cyber incident is not just an isolated event. It has ripple effects that can touch every corner of your charity. It's not just about fixing a technical problem. It's about protecting your charity's ability to fulfill its mission, maintain trust, and continue making a positive impact on the lives of those you serve. But there is a silver lining. By taking cybersecurity seriously before an incident occurs, you're mitigating the risk and safeguarding your mission. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask a question. If any of you have ever know a story about a charity getting attacked with a cyber incident. Put a 1 in the chat or say something in the chat if you have heard of one, and feel free to converse amongst yourselves while I tell some relatively scary true stories so we can learn from others' mistakes. So a few months ago, the UK Electoral Commission issued a public notification of what it called a complex cyber attack. It turned out not to be so complex. But they said hostile actors gained access to the UK's electoral registers, which contain an estimated 40 million people's personal information. That's nearly 60% of your country. Attackers were able to access Electoral Commission servers, stealing names, addresses, and date of birth of citizens who registered to vote between 2014 and 2022. So this is a very recent discovery, so details are still fuzzy. However, it was noted that the commission was known to be running a vulnerable version of Microsoft Exchange at the time of the incident. That's a zero-day exploit, and why updating software promptly and routinely is so important. Even governments have difficulty securing their systems. Another headline from just a few months ago discovered that thousands of Australian donors to charity had their personal information leaked to the dark web after a telemarketer named Pareto Phone was hacked by cybercriminals. The telemarketing company collected donations on behalf of charities from the supporters. Several charities have confirmed that donor information has been published on the dark web. One said 1,700 of its donors were affected and claimed the data had been retained since 2013 without the charity's knowledge. So full names, date of birth, addresses, email addresses, and phone numbers have been leaked from at least 70 Australian charities due to the breach. No financial details were leaked, but I know I could easily create a false identity with the data that was. So be careful who you partner with, request verification on your partner security practices, and ensure data deletion once a contract is terminated. So a quick update on Pareto Phone. I went to grab the logo for a few days ago for this slide, and their website is gone. Their LinkedIn account also gone. Facebook vanished. So this disappearance just highlights the point that no one is as invested in your mission more than you. Don't rely on them alone to secure your data. Oxfam, a charity organization focusing on global poverty and social justice, faced a data breach in late 2020. A misstep in their security measures led to sensitive info being exposed, names, addresses, and even some bank accounts. It was all out in the open. And I want to highlight this case for one very important reason. Oxfam was so transparent about the breach with weekly updates, supporter hotlines, and cooperation with authorities that their response dominated the reporting instead of speculation and fear. And Oxfam's transparency is a lesson we can all learn from. Save the Children is a renowned global charity. They fell prey to data theft in early 2020. This incident exposed sensitive data and posed a threat to their reputation. But this story is a bit of a bait and switch because the actual ransom attack exfiltrated data from Blackbaud. I don't know if any of you have heard of Blackbaud, but it is one of the world's largest charity software providers and is headquartered in Charleston, South Carolina in the US, which is near where I live. Blackbaud paid an undisclosed amount as ransom to verify the stolen data was deleted and confirm that no information, such as bank account details or passwords, were accessible. So if you're asking yourself how the company could verify data was deleted, you're not the only one. Blackbaud is still fending off claims in court to this day, and Save the Children states they are no longer a customer. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, inadvertently leaked personal information belonging to 8,000 users of its online learning portal. In an email with an attachment containing the personal details of students was accidentally sent out to nearly 20,000 users. This was an accidental data leak caused by human error. Technical teams promptly disabled the functionality, which allows such reports to be exported and block the ability to send email attachments. So this error kind of highlights the need for oversight, stringent access controls, and limited functionality to access only what is necessary to perform your specific job. And the last one, 2 Canadian charities that supported children and families in need fell victim to a ransomware attack in 2018. One of those charities paid a $5,000 ransom to regain access to their systems, and the other saw a ransom message flash on their computer screens demanding $60,000. Fortunately, they were able to use an offline backup for their files to get the agency up and running again. However, the cleanup cost the agency $100,000. But lucky again, that expense was covered by the charity's cyber insurance. So my question to you is, do you have cyber insurance? Do you have offline backups? In both of these instances, their systems were locked up and ransom was demanded. The attack disrupted operations and put their missions on hold. The thought of cyber incidents affecting charities can be pretty scary. So, we pour our hearts into these missions, and the idea of something as intangible as a cyber attack posing a threat is unnerving. I know this chat can do emojis, so put a ghost emoji in the chat. I checked this earlier. If these examples scare you like they scare me, it's completely okay. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, but it doesn't have to paralyze us. By learning from these incidents and proactively taking steps to enhance your charity's cybersecurity, you can protect your mission and the people you serve. So let's take a deep breath and have some courage and resilience, because your mission is worth protecting. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about some challenges unique to charities. So let's get real about something. Charity is not a for-profit business. There are similarities, but charities have their own unique set of challenges. Look at the two top challenges you're facing: limited resources and data sensitivity. These two are charity kryptonite when it comes to cybersecurity. They simultaneously represent why you can't invest in cybersecurity and why you have to. Many charities operate on tight budgets. Most of their funds are channeled directly into their missions. So allocating resources for top-notch cybersecurity can be a bit of a juggling act. You've got programs, outreach, staffing. Now just add one more ball: cybersecurity. It's a difficult balance, making sure that none of the balls drop, especially when one of them is protecting your data and your reputation. Hackers know this and often see charities as low-hanging fruit. Charities rely on the generosity of donors and supporters. It can be tough to justify spending on cybersecurity to those donors. Hopefully this session will give you some evidence to make those conversations easier. So what's the solution? Well, it's not about having an endless budget or an army of cybersecurity experts. It's about being smart, strategic, and resourceful. Now, it's not always obvious, but the value and importance of the sensitive data that you accrue is your most valuable asset. Donor, supporter, and beneficiary information like names, contact details, giving history, payment methods, those are your crown jewels. And it's not just data, it's the foundation of your fundraising efforts, the lifeline that keeps your mission going. Plus, your research, ideas, and strategies are your intellectual property. It's the secret sauce that makes your charity unique. Losing control of this data can have serious consequences. Behind every pound you receive and spend is a financial story of responsibility and accountability. Your financial records aren't just numbers on a ledger, they're a testament to your commitment to your mission and the trust your supporters place in you. Charities work with a diverse range of stakeholders, from volunteers and beneficiaries to donors and partners. Each connection brings its own set of security risks. Charities often need a strong online presence to raise awareness and funds. While this is fantastic for mustering support, it also makes charities more visible to attackers. And the larger the footprint, basically the more successful you are at it, the more susceptible your digital assets become. Simply put, it's easier to hit a larger surface area. Charities are driven by mission. They're all about making a positive impact in the world, but sometimes that singular focus can lead to cybersecurity taking a back seat. Hackers also know this and will try to exploit it. Charities often rely on volunteers that come and go. This high turnover can make it challenging to maintain consistent cybersecurity practices and awareness, not to mention removing access to vital charity systems in a timely manner. It should be treated just like onboarding new staff or offboarding new staff. These challenges paint a clear picture. Securing data for charity organizations isn't just about firewalls and passwords and other tech. It's about navigating complex relationships and spending wisely. Awareness is the first step in overcoming these challenges. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about what those steps are. So who's ready to roll up their sleeves, get into some details of essential cybersecurity practices for charity? These are your building blocks. These are the building blocks for all of your, oh, Jenny, did you get the screen there?
Yeah, is that the right one?
Oh, sorry. Yep. So these are the building blocks of your cybersecurity, your basics, your essentials. And we'll start with the easy one, passwords. So passwords are really difficult for a lot of people. And what you have to do is use the passwords. Excuse me. Oh, hold on one second. Lost my place in my notes here. Yeah, hold on. I've got some great bullet points that I don't want to miss. All right, so let's start with something easy. And passwords, they're very effective. So use strong, unique passwords for all your accounts and change them regularly. Use a password manager to keep track of them. It's more effort, but it's worth it. Also enable multi-factor authentication wherever possible. MFA adds an extra layer of security by requiring users to provide 2 or more forms of verification before granting access. Don't use temporary security codes delivered through email or text messages. You want an app that syncs across devices for this. Your team is your first line of defense. Cybersecurity training is a superpower for your people. So comment in the chat if you have received a phishing attempt. We're going to go through how to spot one now. So always examine who the message is from. And I mean, really study the letters and numbers on the screen. Phishers often use identities that are similar to those of legitimate companies or people that you already trust. Sometimes the match is exact. Look for a sense of urgency in the message, which is often used to get the recipient in the hurried state, which makes us less cautious. If the attacker can get you in a frenzy, they have an advantage. The message may contain grammatical errors or misspellings. So the vast majority of phishing comes from non-English speaking countries. English has many nuances that are difficult to understand. Poor grammar is a telltale sign, but spotting this technique, using this spotting technique is becoming less useful since artificial intelligence tools have become so common and so powerful. So what does the message want you to do? Does it want you to download something, click something, maybe call a phone number, divulge some sensitive information? Always be suspicious. Never open attachments, click on links, or even allow images to load on suspicious messages. But phishing attempts come from all angles: text messages, social media, phone calls, and fake websites. Not long ago, I actually gave a phishing presentation to a local school near where I live, and I tricked nearly everyone, including the staff, into giving up their login credentials for their school's web portal. Let me know in the Q&A section in the chat if you want to hear more about that story. So by educating your team about these tactics, you're equipping them to safeguard your mission. You want to arm them with knowledge. Secure your devices with endpoint security solutions. These tools help protect computers, laptops, smartphones, which are the gateways to your digital assets. And unfortunately, the training I just mentioned will not sink in for everyone. Endpoint security is the always active shield that protects when humans fail. And trust me, we'll all fail. Additionally, your office, if you even have one, is not where the majority of your work happens. You're on the go, you're traveling, you're visiting donors, or you're working from home. The internet-connected devices that travel with you are the easiest opportunity a bad guy has to infiltrate your charity and compromise your mission. All the sophisticated security technology that's centralized at your base of operations needs to travel with you wherever you go. Endpoint security is easier than ever before because of cyber vendors like DNSFilter providing easy tools to install and administer. Endpoint security includes next generation antivirus, most call MDR or EDR, a lot of acronyms in the tech space. They have secure network access, on-device monitoring, plus cloud firewalls and protected DNS. And when you store sensitive data, you have to encrypt it. Encryption scrambles your data, making it unreadable to unauthorized eyes. Be sure to have a strong encryption key and store it somewhere safe, like your password manager. Even if data is stolen, encrypted data is nearly useless to cyber criminals. You'll need automatic redundancy for your most valuable data, documents, and potentially for each device in your organization. If something goes wrong, you've got that copy in your back pocket. The 3-2-1 backup rule is the following. There should be 3 copies of data, 2 on different media types, and 1 copy being offsite. And also, your backup is not really a backup unless restoration is routinely tested. Limit who can access sensitive data. Not everyone needs the keys to the kingdom, not even the CEO. Keep your software and systems up to date. Cyber criminals often exploit unknown vulnerabilities. If your charity handles personal data, and it almost certainly does, make sure you're compliant with data privacy regulations. In the UK, data protection is primarily governed by the Data Protection Act of 2018 and the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which is an EU regulation that the UK has adopted. If you work with third-party vendors, you do, make sure they're as committed to cybersecurity as you are. You need trustworthy allies. And if all that fails, have an incident response plan in place so you know exactly what to do if a cyber attack occurs. Prepare for the worst. It's a fire drill. You hope you won't need it, but you're ready just in case. Consider getting cyber insurance. It can help cover the costs in case of a breach, as we saw in one of our real world examples. It's like having a safety net to catch you if you should fall. Most cyber policies also enforce meeting certain requirements, which will provide you with a handy list of what to focus on. Remember, cybersecurity isn't a one-time thing, it's an ongoing effort. It's like tending a garden. You need to maintain it regularly to keep it healthy and thriving. The leaders of your charity need to set a tone for cybersecurity. It's about making security a part of your charity's DNA. A cybersecurity culture, and means everyone is a defender. It's not just IT's job, it's your responsibility too. Communication flows freely. Team members aren't afraid to report suspicious activities or potential missteps. It's about resilience. In the face of a cyber incident, a cybersecurity culture ensures that your organization can react, overcome, and continue your mission. There's one more aspect that's crucial to this culture: accepting inconvenience as a trade-off for security. You see, cybersecurity is rarely seamless. It takes extra time and process, but it's a small trade-off for the peace of mind it brings. It means more complex passwords and extra authentication steps. It means being cautious when clicking links or downloading files. It's about understanding that these conveniences are a small price to pay for safeguarding what matters most, which is your mission, your donors, and your beneficiaries. So I know that diving into these solutions might feel a bit overwhelming, especially if you're not a cybersecurity expert, which I assume most of you are not. But you're not alone in this journey. You have trusted technology advisors like Click by your side, and there's a wealth of resources available to support charities in their cybersecurity journey. Here's a few that you can explore, and then we can share these links later. We're all in this together. Charities big and small share a common goal to make a positive impact on the world. And when it comes to cybersecurity, collaboration is our strongest weapon. Together, we can make a difference in our digital world, make it safer, and continue to focus on what truly matters, making a difference in the lives of those we serve. So on the next slide, we'll wrap up some key takeaways. Protecting your charity's mission starts with making cybersecurity a top priority. Develop and practice an incident response plan for quick action in case of a breach. Keep up with evolving cyber threats and regulations. Nail the basics of cybersecurity, that's the endpoint security stuff, and instill a defensive mindset in your staff, volunteers, and supporters. Continuously improve by learning from others' experiences and failures, and stay adaptable. Never underestimate the vital role of cybersecurity in safeguarding your charity's mission. Not just about data, it ensures that your mission remains resilient, your reputation intact, and your impact lasting. A trusted managed service provider like Click are experts. They're available to help you navigate the complex. Partner with them for safeguarding your charity's mission. So I know I've covered a lot here today, and I hope you found this discussion on cybersecurity for charities valuable.